The devil uses this lie to make it seem like we don't struggle with idolatry at all. However, if you are not worshiping God, you are worshiping something, because as humans, we were made to worship. Let's expose modern day idolatry and the way it can so easily creep in through the spiritual warfare that we face. I have been reading the book of Jeremiah, and this has been a conviction that has been in the forefront of my mind. And if you're not familiar with the book of Jeremiah, he was a prophet called by God to rebuke the Israelites for breaking their covenant with God and choosing to worship foreign idols. And it can be easy to read a passage in Jeremiah and think, well, I don't relate to this because I'm not building an idol to worship. And this is not really common, especially in America, maybe in a third world country, but in America, we don't necessarily recognize it very easily. We were made for relationships and community. And if we go all the way back to Genesis 2 to be exact, we can see that God recognized Adam needed a partner. It says here, "So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and while he slept, he took one of his ribs and closed up its place with flesh." Now, this is a pivotal moment in Genesis where God created woman out of man. And notice here how God says that he caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. He didn't let Adam be a part of the process. He didn't ask Adam beforehand, what kind of partner do you want? What kind of partner will satisfy your needs and desires? Why? Because God knew what was best for Adam way better than he did, and he wanted to establish what it would look like for a man and a wife to be in union together. And he had a plan and a purpose for marriage. And why do I bring this up? Because relationships is the one thing that we as a society can so easily idolize. It can be marriage. It can be finding your identity in your boyfriend or your girlfriend. It can be redefining what it looks like to be in relationship with someone, right? You see, in society now, we're trying to redefine gender. We're trying to redefine what marriage looks like. We're trying to go away from what God established. And if we step away from God's plan and purpose for relationships, that will lead towards destruction. Along with relationships, we can so easily idolize job title, status, and money. I used to work for the entertainment industry, and everyone was fixated on either becoming a celebrity, an influencer, or an executive. Your dreams mattered if they were filled with recognition, popularity, and power. And the dream big mentality was emphasized. And in America, the dream big mentality is the focal point of so many people. We place our identity on these big dreams. And I came across a book recently called Dream Small. And when I read it, it put so much into perspective for me. And I said this in a previous video, but the author was really emphasizing the fact that dreaming with God is going to look different than dreaming dreams that are focused on you, because you were never meant to be the main character of the story. When we surrender our dreams to God and we give him our desires, God places them in the right place so we don't idolize our dreams, and so we find fulfillment and identity in God and not ourselves. And there was a story that stood out to me in the book. He was talking about his great-grandfather who worked for the YMCA. He was a greeter, and every day his main goal was to make everyone feel welcome, feel seen, and special. And he excelled at his job. People wanted to give him more status, more recognition. They wanted to promote him. And he said, no, God is doing something right here in the front of the YMCA. I want to meet people where they are at. And it was a job that didn't necessarily get popularity or recognition, but he said, God is using me right here. And that's what you call dreaming with God. It may not look big and popular and impressive to society, but to God, that is where he was working. And just like the author's great-grandfather, Jesus emulated that in his ministry here on earth. He saw the poor, he saw the outcasts, and he identified himself with them, right? He says his heart is with those that society can so easily dismiss. I read another book about a year ago called Anonymous, and the author in Anonymous talks about Jesus' life and ministry, and she points out something that I didn't fully realize, she said that the Bible doesn't document Jesus' teenage years or his early 20s or even a lot of his childhood. We don't know what Jesus was doing, but we do know one thing, that Jesus had a personal and powerful relationship with the Father, and he was walking in the Father's will before he gained the recognition he did in his early 30s when he was building his ministry. The Father was really taking him on this journey in the unseen, in the mundane, in the everyday moments with his family and his community, and he was working in his life. In the same way, he is working in our lives, and it's not necessarily going to look like some big, powerful, impressive thing. I also want to bring motherhood into this as well, because I'm a new mom. My baby girl is 9 months old, and God has been giving me some life-changing lessons this past year. And I love to watch influencers on YouTube and Instagram kind of showcase their routine, especially those that balance a full-time job with their babies, because right now I have a full-time job and it's tricky to navigate. But I also love watching stay-at-home moms in their routine. And with social media, there's a positive and a negative. The negative side is that I see a lot of people bashing on stay-at-home moms, which made me kind of go down this rabbit hole as to why are they bashing them. And I think it goes back to that dream big mentality. People value job titles, especially ones that are deemed impressive, that come with recognition and status, more than a stay-at-home mom that's not getting recognition, that is quietly and dutifully taking care of her children and her husband and her family, and doing the day-to-day, doing the mundane. People can so easily dismiss that, right? Because it doesn't fit under the dream big category. And I just want to encourage you, first of all, as a mom, no matter where you are in life, if you have a job, if you're a stay-at-home mom, if your kids are older and they moved out, no matter what, your identity should be on God, not what society places as valuable. And then also, we should recognize and celebrate the fact that God is working in those mundane moments, in those unseen moments, because you are replaceable in the corporate world, but you are irreplaceable in the home with your children. And God is working in the quiet and the still, and be still and know that I am God. That is a Bible verse I constantly meditate on because it's so hard for me to do, but God works in every situation, and one is not better than the other, and we should not equate status and recognition as more valuable than someone who is tending to their home and working very hard, but it may not be getting that recognition, right? So those are my thoughts. I went a little bit on a tangent there, but I've been thinking about that lately. And at the end of the day, again, we should not be idolizing or consumed by anything else but God. So not only is it easy to idolize relationships, job title, money, but it's also easy to idolize what we listen to. This can come through music, podcasts, social media, YouTube. Basically, we are inundated with information. A few years ago, I myself would listen to all types of music. I said if the beat is good, I kind of ignored the lyrics a little bit. And God was so patient with me. He was really convicting my heart slowly but surely and reminding me, hey, ask yourself, what are you actually listening to? And so I started to read the lyrics of some of these songs and to realize that, wow, this is not biblical, and I'm putting this into my mind and it's affecting my day to day. And that's how the devil works. He works in conniving ways that are so subtle that can really hinder your relationship with God to the point where you may not even fully recognize it. And hey, I will also say that some music that's labeled Christian may not necessarily be theologically sound, so we have to be careful. What are we consuming our minds with? What are we listening to? If we're listening to or even watching something that's taking the place of God and His Word and His truth, We need to take a step back and reevaluate things and reevaluate what we're prioritizing. And nowadays, I am very, very careful with the music I listen to, especially because that was something that honestly, I didn't even think twice about a few years ago. I didn't even think it was a big deal until I started really reading these lyrics. And also, if you have children, you need to pray over your home. And you need to think about what you are bringing into your home. What music are you bringing into your home? What are you watching on your television? Because spiritual warfare can creep in those ways. And as moms especially, we need to be prayer warriors for our children, for our husband, for our home, to protect our homes from the enemy's attacks. And he works in entertainment. Why? Because it's distracting. And it's enticing, which is very, very dangerous. Ephesians 5:4 is a verse that really ties into this subject. It says here, "Let there be no filthiness, nor foolish talk, nor crude joking, which are out of place, but instead let there be thanksgiving." I also want to turn to John 15. It says here, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me." We can't do anything without God. We can try to redefine things. We can try to do things our own way or to follow a different path. But it all leads to selfishness, corruption. It's sin. That's the core of sin. It places us as the main character instead of God, and it has us going down this spiral where we're placing our identity on the wrong things, we're worshiping the wrong things, and the devil is using it to destroy our lives because his end goal is to get us as far away from God as possible. So my next question to you is this: are you abiding in God each day? Are you really understanding and recognizing what is consuming you? Because that is the first step. And believe me, when I say this is something I am preaching to myself because this is a daily battle that I face. I can so easily get consumed with things at work. I can so easily get consumed with anything and everything that I listen to. I'm inundated with information every day. A lot of the times I struggle with negative thoughts, and it's really, really hard. And the devil uses all of this to really distract us from who God is and to really distract us from abiding in him. And I will leave you with one last thing. I've also recently been reading A.W. Tozer. I read a little bit every night. I like to call it my nightly Tozer bites because I like to take in what he says and just really meditate on it. And I've been reading The Knowledge of the Holy. And it says here, "What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us." I read this and then I thought to myself, what do I honestly think about God? And I want you to think about that yourself. What do you think about God? Because that will be the most important thing about us. So let's get right with God. Let's pinpoint the modern idolatry that can so easily creep in and affect our relationship with God. And I'm going to do this myself because it's a struggle and it's a battle each and every day. So thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you have prayer requests, leave them down below. Subscribe for more faith-based content in the coming weeks. And I hope you all have a blessed week. I will see you all very soon for another video. Bye, guys.